Hi guys, and welcome to Lauren's Bliss Yoga. So this is going to be a yoga class which is going to be focused on stretching out the hip flexors, which can be great if you've got tight hips, but also if you have lower back pain. It may be due to tight hip flexors, so it may also relieve that over time. So if we start by coming onto our back, onto our mat, coming into just a lying, comfortable position. Make any movements just to be comfortable for a few minutes while we begin to tune in and connect with our breath. So you can place one hand on the belly, maybe closing down the eyes or finding soft gaze. Starting to lengthen the breath, lengthening the inhales and deepening the exhales. Now starting to consciously breathe into the belly. As we inhale, we want to feel the belly rise. And as we exhale, we want to feel the belly lower back down. Inhaling, feeling the belly expand. And as you exhale, just feeling it lower back down, just starting to connect your mind with your body. Just keeping that going. Keeping your awareness on your breath and the belly rising and lowering back down. Just starting to tune in to what you can feel in the body. And then just releasing the arm. Slowly beginning to open the eyes. And inhaling as we lift, coming into a seated position, crossing the legs, and then rolling over the legs, coming into tabletop. So bringing the hands underneath the shoulders, the knees underneath the hips, untucking the toes, and inhaling as you drop the belly, lift the gaze for cow. Exhaling as you tuck the tailbone, move the chin towards the chest for cat. Flowing with the rhythm of your own breath, inhaling, lifting the gaze, exhaling, curving the spine, pushing the ground away, inhaling, dropping the belly, and exhaling, doming the upper back. Inhaling, warming up the spine, and exhaling, curving the spine. And inhale back to table, finding a neutral spine. And as you exhale, step the hands just slightly forward. Ground down into your fingers into the mat, all of the fingers. Tuck the toes and inhale, start to lift the hips, straightening the legs for downward dog. And start to walk the legs forward towards the hands, taking a little bend in the knees. Bringing the feet so they're hip distance apart. Keeping that nice gentle bend in the knees and just grabbing opposite elbow. Letting the head hang heavy. Maybe shifting the weight slightly forward into the ball of the foot. But still keeping that nice bend in the knees. Maybe you want to rock side to side. Do whatever you feel called to do. And on our next inhale, letting the arms fall to the ground as we start to rise slowly as we ground down into the feet. Trying to keep the eyes closed if we can, if we want to. And rising all the way to standing, the head being the last to lift. From here, we're going to do a few sun salutations. So inhale, raise the arms up overhead, lift the gaze. Maybe take a slight back bend, push the chest up. And exhale as you fold forward from the hips, keeping a bend into the knees. Inhale to a flat back. You can bring the hands onto the shins or you can keep them down, just finding length through the spine. And exhale as you plant the hands, step or jump back to plank. And lower down to your knees, your chest and your chin, or you can take chaturanga. Inhaling to cobra, opening the chest, shoulders down. And exhaling as you bend into the knees, tuck the toes and lift for downward dog. We'll just hold downward dog for a few breaths. So ground down into the fingers. Work your armpits towards each other to broaden the shoulders. Push your chest towards your thighs and push through the back of the legs while you root the heels down to the earth. Doesn't matter if they don't touch. And make sure that you're still lengthening your breath. From here, inhale, step or jump forward, coming into a halfway lift, hands on shins or the floor, and then exhale as you fold. Inhale, rising all the way back up to standing, hands overhead, lift the gaze, and exhale, push the palms together, bring the hands down towards the heart. We'll do that one more time. Inhale, reaching the arms up, maybe taking a back bend. Exhale, folding forward from the hips, bent or straight knees. Inhale to a flat back. Exhale, step or jump back to plank. Lower down, knees, chest, chin. Inhale for cobra. And exhale, coming onto the knees, tucking the toes for downward dog. Holding downward dog for a few breaths. Just checking in with yourself, whether you're still lengthening the breath, focusing the mind on what you can feel in the body. And inhale, stepping forward or jumping, coming into a halfway lift, lengthening the spine. Exhale, folding back down. Inhale, rising, gazing up. And exhale, pushing the palms together as they come down to your heart. And then releasing the arms down besides the body. From here, shifting all the weight onto the left foot. As you inhale, starting to raise the left leg, the right leg, sorry. Now you can keep your hands on your hips and you can keep the knee bent, but try to see whether it's accessible to straighten the leg. So if you straighten the leg, you might experience some shaking and the leg might slightly drop. That's fine. Just trying to hold this position. If you fall, just try again. What we're doing here is really working the hip flexor, so we're activating the hip flexor before we're going to stretch. Fixing your gaze at one point to help you balance. And exhale, releasing the leg. back down to join the other. And inhale, we're going to come onto the other side. So shifting the weight into the right leg, coming up for bent knee, hands on the hips, and starting to straighten the leg. Pulling the abdomen in, the core, trying to lift the leg as high as we can. Doesn't matter if it drops or if you're back at a bent knee. Just working the hip flexor. If you fall, just try again. Fixing your gaze at one point will help you balance. And of course, using the breath to anchor, to focus. And when you're ready, exhale, lower the leg back down. From here, we're going to inhale and step back with the right foot into a high lunge. So you're going to step back quite a few feet back, and then coming onto the ball of the back foot, and then sinking down into the knee, so the knee is over the ankle. Into this high lunge position, you can leave the hands onto the hips and focus and gaze at one point to help you focus, And from here, we're going to engage the right glute and push the right hip forward and the left hip back. The more you engage that right glute and the right leg, you're going to feel more of a stretch in the front of the right leg into the hip flexor, and then reaching the arms up if you want to. Might be harder slightly to balance. Palms facing each other. And lengthening the inhales, deepening your exhales. Just becoming aware of what you can feel in the body. What muscles can you feel stretching and what muscles can you feel working? And on your next exhale, releasing the arms back down beside the body, maybe bring them onto the hips, and then stepping forward back to the front of the mat. And now we're going to come onto the other side. So it's inhaling, stepping back with the left leg, and coming back onto the ball of the left leg, left foot, bending into the front knee, so the knee is tracking over the ankle. Bringing our hands onto our hips, and then bringing that left hip forward and the right hip back, keeping our hips in a neutral position, and then engaging the left glute, the back leg, feeling that stretching the hip flexor on the left side, and inhaling as we reach the arms up if we wish, fixing our gaze at one point. We don't want to overarch in the lower back, so pulling the belly in. And palms face towards each other. And coming back to lengthening the inhales, deepening our exhales, and just bringing our awareness into our body. Exhale, release the arms down onto the hips. Inhale, step forward. So you're now coming to the front of the mat. Exhale, releasing the hands down beside the body. Inhaling, reaching the arms up, lifting the gaze. Exhale, folding forward from the hips into our forward fold. Inhale to a flat back. And exhale, step back with both legs so the knees are down. Just rolling over the legs, coming onto our bum. I'm going to come into boat pose. So bringing the soles of the feet down and sitting on your bum, bringing the hands forward, palms facing each other. And on an inhale, start to lift the legs. So you can keep the legs parallel to the ground and your arms. If this is too challenging, you can bring the hands onto the back of the thighs. And if you want more of a challenge, start to straighten the legs. Maybe pointing the toes. The chest is open instead of curved. Shoulders down away from the ears. And maybe you're shaking and that's fine. That's your muscles working, your nervous system being outside of its comfort zone. Just choose whatever variation you're feeling today. Gazing at your feet. And on an exhale, releasing boat pose, coming up onto the knees. And then stepping forward with the right leg. So we're going to come into low lunge. So make sure your knee is in line with your foot and the knee's in line with your hip. And then start to sink down into the hips. So as if you was closing the gap between your thigh and the mat. Make sure that your back foot is in line with your knee and your hip as you're sinking down. Bring your hands onto your hips and then engage the glute, the butt muscle on the left side. So you should feel more of a stretch as you do that on the hip flexor at the front of the left leg. From here, you can reach the hands up overhead. And don't bend too much into the lower back, but open the chest and push the chest up. Palms facing each other. Lifting your gaze slightly. Just feeling that nice deep stretch into the hip flexor. And on the next exhale, releasing the arms down and lifting back up into the hips. And just moving that foot slightly back. So your hips are now lifted. We're going to take a different variation of a hip flexor stretch. So just interlacing the palms, bringing the hands down onto the top of the thigh. And then you're going to tuck the tailbone and curve the spine as if you was doing cat pose. So instead of pushing the bum out, pull the bum in as you tuck the tailbone. And pull the core in, the abdomen, and curve the back. As you push your hands into your knee, you should feel quite a good stretch into the hip flexor on the left side. Slowing down the breath. And exhale, release the arms and step that right foot back to join the left. And now we're coming onto the other side, stepping forward with the left leg. Stepping it forward enough so you can sink down into the hips with the knee tracking over the ankle. The knee in line with the hip and the back leg and foot in line with the hip. Sinking down into the hips, trying to close the gap between the floor and your thigh. Engaging the right glute muscle to the right butt cheek. Feeling that stretch along the front of the right side now as you engage that muscle. And then inhaling, if you want to lift the arms up overhead, palms facing each other. Again, pushing the chest up, opening the chest, moving the back bend not only into the lower back. And fixing your gaze, slowing down your breath. Bringing your awareness to your hip flexor. Feeling the muscle stretch. And inhaling as you let the arms fall and lift the hips. Again, stepping that front foot slightly back. And coming into that pose on the other side. So interlacing the fingers, placing the hands onto the knee. Again, we're going to tuck the tailbone. So instead of pushing the bum out, we're going to do the opposite, which is squeeze the bum in, engage the abdomen, curve through the spine as if we're making a cat pose. And you should feel a nice stretch on the hip flex on the right side. You can increase it by shifting the weight slightly forward. And exhale, releasing the hand and bringing the knee back down to join the other. Just rolling back onto your bum, extending your legs out in front of you. We'll just take a quick forward fold. So from here, again, we don't want to tuck the tailbone. We want to, this time, push the bum out. Inhale as we lift the arms up overhead, lifting our gaze, finding length. Exhale as we start to fold forward. It's fine if your hands come onto your shins, or maybe you can reach for the toes. And you can bring the two peace fingers around the big toe, or actually bring the hands around the foot. Wherever you are, just keeping the neck still long and the spine in a neutral position. We don't want to curve. And just feeling that stretch along the back of the legs. Maybe also into the back, depending on where you're tight. Maybe finding a soft gaze or closing the eyes. Whatever we're doing, just turning our attention inward. Maybe starting to feel the movement of our breath in our chest or our belly or our shoulders. And inhaling, starting to lift slowly back up. And exhaling, coming to lie down on your back. Just letting the feet fall out to the sides. The arms rest beside the body, palms face up. Making any last micro movements just to feel comfortable for a minute or two. Just closing down the eyes or finding a soft gaze. Letting go of making any effort. Just checking that our jaw's not clenched, Our teeth are slightly parted and just resting the tongue on the lower palate or the roof of the mouth. And just taking a moment of relaxation. Just being aware of any thoughts, feelings or sensations or noises, but just bringing our awareness back to the moment, just witnessing whatever it is. Inhaling, finding small movements with the fingers and the toes. Just waking the body back up. Maybe reaching the arms up overhead and taking a full body stretch. And on an exhale, just rolling over onto the side, using your arm as a pillow. Maybe bending into the knees, still keeping the eyes closed. And on an inhale, guiding yourselves back up into a seated position. Coming into any comfortable seat. And just inhaling, reaching the arms up overhead, bringing the palms to touch. And exhaling, the hands down towards the heart. Namaste.